Yeah, who we speaking to right now? Hello?
It's Stephen Smith.
Hey, Stephen.
Oh, what's up, man? Thank you for coming on our show today.
No problem.
How you doing today, man? Hey,
yeah,
Steven,
not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good, man. Not much, man. We're just here talking boxing, man. Waiting for you to come on and everything, man. So, how's it going over there? I know it's what time is it over there? It's late. It's late over there.
It's after 10 p.m.
Sorry about that. Oh man. So what's good? What's good with you, man? How's? Go ahead, Barzini.
I was gonna ask him. So let's get into the questions, man. Thank you again for coming on our show and accepting to come on. But when you got the news that you was gonna fight Pedraza, how did you feel about it? And when did you get the news?
I had a final eliminator for the IBF title, so upon winning that, I knew I was fighting for the IBF title, whoever held it, and I watched Pedraza's fight against Edner, and I knew the winner would have to face me, and Pedraza come through that in a close contest, and I knew he had to fight me next, so I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the fight, and I've got a chance to become world champion, and that's all you can ask for as a boxer.
Okay. When is the bout? When you fighting Pedraza? Do you have a date yet?
I don't know. We're sort of waiting on the date getting confirmed.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be confirmed soon enough, surely, but I'm just still waiting.
Oh, okay. How you think of Pedraza as a fighter, as a whole?
I think he's a good fighter. He's a talented fighter. He's one of I've seen around for a long time. Even in the amateurs. I know he went to the Olympics and he got a silver medal in the World Championships, and I was around a similar level myself, and he's one I've always rated how good he is and how good he can be, but he's one I'm also very confident I'll beat.
Oh, okay. Did you get a chance to see his last fight against Edner?
Yeah, I watched it. I knew the winner I'd be facing, so I watched the fight, and I don't think Pedraza was at his best in that fight, by any means. I think it was very close, and I'd be a fool to look too much into that.
Who you gave the edge on that fight?
I thought it was very close, to be honest with you. If I had to go one way or the other, I think maybe the aggression of Cherry may have got it, but I don't think. I think it was one of them. It was either way it would have been disputed, but I don't think either way it could have been argued for the winner.
I thought I had Cherry winning like at least 2 points. It was a very competitive fight.
I think if I had to pick it, of course, it's just whatever you liked in the rounds. But I think if I had to pick a winner, I thought Cherry nicked it. But I do think it was a close fight. It would have been disputed either way, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, how did you start boxing? What inspired you to do boxing?
To be honest with you, I'm one of 4 brothers. We're all professional boxers, all doing well. So my elder brothers. Yeah, so it's just one of them things where like anyone, you follow your big brother around, whether he's he's out playing football or he's going into a boxing gym, and I was the same. I just followed him into the boxing gym, and it was just when I seen him doing it, I wanted to do it myself, and my other 2 brothers followed on after me.
Right, definitely, man. Cause I'm a fan of your brothers as well, man.
Yeah, it's going well. It's good to have it in the family.
Right. And the unique thing about it is like all your the 4 of y'all is doing well in the boxing community, because you see always like one brother doing well and the others is not really as popular as the others.
Yeah.
But the 4 of y'all.
Yeah, especially the fact that we haven't got any other brothers. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, it is. It's good. We've definitely done well. It's a good achievement, but we're not done yet. We want to keep pushing on, and hopefully all get a chance to be world champion.
Right. If who you think in your division, who you think is the best besides yourself at 130 right now?
I think you've got to give it to Uchiyama, just because he's been champion a long time. He's beat everyone put in front of him, and although many people may say he hasn't had, too many wins of note other than maybe the Miura win, I think, the fact that he's been recognised number one in the division for so long, since, for the last few years at least, I think you've sort of got to pick him. But, I think that it's a pretty good division at the minute. I think it's got a few standout names in it, and it's becoming a lot more competitive. But I think if you have to pick a number one, you'd have to probably give it to Uchiyama. I think the number one becomes the man whoever beats him.
Right. Yeah, I'm hearing that Uchiyama is going to fight Nicholas Waters in sometime in April or May.
Yeah, I think I've
think about that fight?
And I think it'll be a very exciting fight. I think, both of them fancy their own power, and I don't think both of them will be. No, I think they both have respect of each other, but I don't think either of them are hard to hit either. I think it'll be a very explosive fight, and I think it'll be one for the fans really, and I'll be excited to watch it myself as much as anyone else.
Right, man. You've been looking impressive your last how many fights? Man, you've been just looking impressive your last fights, man.
Yeah.
Definitely, you did really great your last fight. Well, I can't even really pronounce his name.
Yeah,
but I did get a chance to see it.
Yeah. No, it was a good test for myself. When you get put in a final eliminator, you sort of you go and win that, then there's nothing politics-wise can stop you fighting for the title. So it was a big night for me, and it was one I believe I performed well, but it's one that I can send a statement out that I'm not just in a world title fight to make up the numbers. I want to win a world title and move forward from there.
What is more important to you, winning the IBF or becoming or getting your rematch with Leo Selby?
Winning the IBF by a country mile, really. I think my dream in boxing's always been from the minute I laced up a pair of gloves, has always been to be a world champion. So that's my goal first and foremost. The minute I become world champion, then I can concentrate on other things like avenging my only loss. But I need to achieve my dream first and foremost, and by doing that, I think it puts me in a better position to entice Lee Selby into a dream match.
Right. I wanted to ask you, what was in your training camp before the Leo Selby fight? How did it training camp went?
It makes it sound like I'm making an excuse, but I was supposed to be fighting July the 9th, and I was training for my fight July the 9th, and actually the show then got postponed a week to July the 16th, and I was best man at my brother's wedding that day. I couldn't fight, so they put my fight back to the first week in September when the season starts again, and it was sort of too close to stop training and start again, but so I just carried on training through, and I believe I burnt myself out. I knew on the night, you're talking around 2 and 3, I felt like I was tired and there was nothing left in the tank, and training had been seemingly going well, but I just think I overdone it, and anyone knows who's overtrained. When you're unfit, you can still get a few rounds out, but when you're overtrained, rounds 2 and 3, you can feel it already, and I just felt like I had nothing in the legs and just tried to grind the result out, but it wasn't to be.
Oh, okay. I meant to ask you that because I was like, man, I noticed after your Leo Selby fight, you've been fighting much better. Yeah. Did that fight motivate you to do better in boxing?
Yeah, definitely. I think I just learned the lesson. Yeah, no, I just think I learned the lesson that I wouldn't do the same thing again. I'd always get me rest and make sure to plan me training properly around the date, and and I think also since then I've done the 130 limit instead of doing 126, and I think the extra £4 just helps. Rather than cutting weight and messing with fluids, I think I do the weight a lot more better now, and I think I'm stronger at it, and it shows that every title fight I've had since I've won by knockout.
Right. If you had a chance to fight anybody at 130 right now, who would you want to be against?
Obviously Pedraza, but after him, then as I say, I think there's a lot of good names about, but I think, if that fight comes off with Uchiyama and Walters, then I think, that's got to be the name you're going to be looking at, because I think the winner of that fight will be recognised as the number one in the division. And, if you want to be the best in the world, then that's the man you've got to beat.
Oh, right, definitely, man. I always say, man, I would love one of you guys to become the undisputed champion, man, because I haven't seen an undisputed champion in so God knows when, and I was like, man, I wonder if Smith can do it. You know what I mean? I wonder if this guy can do it. So I hope one of you guys can do it. I would cheer y'all on if y'all can make that thing happen. How
definitely
you being under Eddie Hearn at Matchroom? How they treating you?
Yeah, good. I think they're very honest. Everything they've said they'd do or they'd try and do, then they've done, and they've done it very openly. So you can't ask for much more than that when you're the boxer. You just want to concentrate on your training and beating what's put in front of you. And if your promoters pulling for you and doing everything that you can ask of them, then I couldn't really ask for more. And I'm happy. I just wish I was with him earlier in my career, really.
Okay. I meant to ask you. You see most champions, it's so much belts in the division, right? Like, in your division, you got 5 champions.
Yeah.
How you see Pedraza has the IBF, Francisco Vargas has the WBC, you got Uchiyama has the Super WBA, and you got Rocky Martinez
Fortuna.
got the WBO, and Javier Fortuna has the regular WBA.
Yeah.
How you feel about all these belts and everybody can call themselves a champion and nobody knows who's the real world champion?
I agree with fans who don't like it. I do think it's a bit soft, especially for not the biggest boxing fans. They're going to be wondering who's the best in the division all the time when you've got, as you say, 5 people calling themselves world champion. But I don't think it was half as bad when there was the 4, even though that might sound silly, because I just think the WBA have belittled themselves really by having 2 world champions at a weight. How can a man train all his life to become a world champion, and when he gets world champion be called a regular world champion, or when there's a super world champion next to him? I don't agree with it, having 2 world titles under one governing body. I think that's a silly move from them. I think they've devalued their world title really. I think other boxers may look at the titles and think they'd rather go for a WBC or maybe an IBF, where you're the number one, you're the world champion, you're the kingpin. You're not going to have someone else who's rated as a super champion over yourself. But I do see fans' frustration in wanting one world champion, but I just don't see it happening any time in the future with the governing bodies being so powerful at the minute. I can't see them really working together to make one champion at a weight.
Definitely. I wanted to also ask you, how much does a boxer or a fighter has control of their career? Do the promoters control you guys' career more than you have say?
I think it depends at the level, and it depends on the promoter really. I think when you start off, obviously the promoter's 99% guiding your career. He's picking your fight, he's plotting your route, and he's just getting your coverage and getting your rounds. And they're sort of telling you where you're fighting, when you're fighting, and that as long as you're fit and ready. And as it sort of gets on and you move on up and you sort of get towards world level, that's when you sort of get a bit more say, and you sort of call the shots a little bit more. But again, it just depends on your relationship with your promoter. You could get a lot of promoters who may not give the boxer as much say as what others would have.
So how much control does Eddie Hearn has on your career?
I think I put him in. I give him the control which he wants to, but he's also one of them where he'll ring me up and he'll let me have my own say. He'll work with me and see which route I prefer, and then he'll go away and he'll work on getting me the best fight I can towards that title. And I've built my rankings up where I was ranked number 2 in the WBC and the same in the IBF, so I got a final eliminator call for him in both governing bodies, and it left me with a choice of which route I'd prefer to take, and I've ended up going the IBF route.
Oh, okay. Do you think Pedraza is a better fight than Francisco Vargas?
No, to be honest with you, when the fight got called, the final eliminator was with myself and Vargas. Me and Vargas were 1 and 2, and you know, with the IBF route, I just thought Vargas was a bigger fight than an eliminator. You know, I thought, and it's proved right really because of our fight Vargas. Now it's for the WBC title. So, you know, my reckoning was that if for Vargas it was a bigger fight than an eliminator, it should be a world title fight. So, you know, I went the IBF route where I fought Bashiro, and I just thought it was a better way to go and get me big night.
Will we get a chance to see you fighting more than a lot this year, like at least 3 or 4 fights this year? Or
yeah, I'm hoping so. You know, I think I've been waiting to be eliminated to get this fight sorted, and you know, now it's done. I want to get this fight done and won, and then, you know, I want to look forward to, you know, defending my title. And you know, if I get my way, then I want to go and try and challenge for other titles too.
Yeah, man, I was so excited when I heard the news you was gonna fight Pedraza, man, because I thought y'all was gonna fight in January, and then I heard February, then I heard March. So I was like, man, I can't wait to see this fight with the both of y'all, and I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I was exactly
man.
the same. I thought the fight was going to be the end of the year. I thought it was going to be maybe December, then I heard January, and then the same thing I heard it was February. Then it looked like March. So, you know, I've been in the same boat. I've just been, you know, trying to make sure I don't overtrain, just sticking to me training in the gym and ticking over and waiting to get a day finalised so we can push ahead with you know, working on the game plan and stuff, and, you know, looking towards getting in the best shape possible to go and win the world title.
So as soon as you win, are you gonna take it lightly and take it easier, or go straight to another title? When you do, if
I get my way, then, you know, I'd love to go and try and unify, you know, as soon as possible. But, you know, obviously I'll have to see where things are at. Now it's looking for the other champions and, you know, what routes available. But, you know, if I get my way, definitely, I want to try and become the best in the division. I want to be recognised as the unified champion. And, you know, there's only one way to do that, and that's going and taking the belt off the others.
Right. Because I know, like, soon as when you do win the title, is like everybody's gonna be calling for you, man. Everybody's gonna want to fight you because you got the IBF strap now. You just beat one of our Haymon fighters, so a lot of people is gonna be calling you out, man.
I've seen that already happening with me brother Liam. You know, the minute he become world champion, then, you know, I've seen his name being mentioned now and talked with the likes of, you know, Canelo Alvarez and Miguel Cotto. They're like, you know, superstars in boxing, and now they're being talked of as, you know, opponents for my brother because, you know, he's got a world title, and, you know, once you're there, you get a tiger on your back, so to speak. And, you know, I look forward to that. I look forward to being mentioned in big fights and, you know, being part of them as well.
Well, man, I love to see you against Pedraza, definitely, and I love to see you against Nicholas Waters, Uchiyama.
Me too.
Fortuna, like all of them guys, man. Rocky Martinez. Yeah, man.
Definitely,
I love to see you against all of these guys, man.
Yeah,
definitely.
Me too, mate.
So you can probably become the undisputed champion.
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Since you brought up about your brother fighting the likes of Miguel Cotto and Canelo Alvarez, how your brother felt about all of those things, since you're the closest?
He's excited. He's just, you know, he's looking forward to the fight coming off. You know, he doesn't want to, like, build his hopes up and, you know, if they don't happen. But, you know, he's seeing offers coming in and a fight of that magnitude, and, you know, he wants to fight the best. He wants to be the best. You know, he's world champion now. He's accomplished that task, and now his next thing is to become the best in the division. And you only become the best by beating the best. And, you know, they're the likes of them names. If you're Alvarez and Cottos.
Yeah, man. If I wanted to ask you if you could make 5 fights right now, what would be your top 5 best fights you can make right now if you was a promoter?
Across the whole divisions?
The whole division. That's the top 5 fights you would love to see next, if it could be made.
To be honest with you, I think it's a toss-up which would be me number one. It is the best 2 fights which I'd like to see just out of interest in myself at the minute would be, I'd like to see the Golovkin against Alvarez fight. I just think it's a good fight for boxing. 2 massive names, and it'll be interesting to see how it happens. Although I do think Golovkin would be a bit too strong myself, but it'd be good to see it. Two superstars in boxing really at the minute. Boxing, that'll be one of my best fights I'd like to see, and another one would be to see Kovalev against Andre Ward. See how Andre Ward is up at light heavyweight, and that'd be a massive fight for me. What I'd love to see, and see whether the skill against the power really, how the 2 styles would mix, and whether they gel well. So they'd be definitely me most 2 exciting fights. After that, the third one is happening. It's Craig Frampton over in the UK. I think it's a massive fight. It's I train alongside Scott Quigg, so I've seen how well he's preparing for it, and I'm as excited about that fight as everyone else is. That'd be my third one. A fourth one would be Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I'd like to see who the unified heavyweight champion of the world is. And they're both young, both good talkers as well as good fighters. So I think that'd be as exciting in the build-up as it will be on the night. And then the last one, probably from a selfish point of view, I'd like to see me brother Callum against Badou Jack. I think Callum's in a final eliminator now for the WBC title. So
I heard about that.
He's going that route. He's got a final eliminator now on April 2nd, so he wins that fight. He's the man to challenge to Badou Jack. So that'd be the 5th one I'd like to see, because I believe Callum's one of the hottest prospects in boxing, and I think he's going to show the world how good he is when he becomes world champion later in the year, possibly.
Those are good ones, man. I love them all, man. I really do. Yeah, definitely do. Who you in your whole pro career? Who gave you the toughest challenge in your career?
I think I'd obviously have to go with the one loss in being Selby. He's the only man who put something in front of you which I didn't beat on the night. So I'd have to be honest and say it was Lee Selby. But if it's talking about which I've overcome, the toughest night of my career, which I've come through with a win, would have to be John Simpson. My first title fight, which I had in Glasgow in his own backyard. It was a hostile atmosphere, and it was just a lot of new things for me in the pro game, which taught me a lot of lessons. It was a tough 12-round fight, the first time I'd done the 12, and I learned a lot on the night, and it's one which will always stand me in good stead going forward.
Okay, I hear that, man. When do you start your training camp, or did you already start training camp yet?
Yeah, I started, and we were just keeping up to training at the minute, but we're waiting on the date being finalised so we can really own in on the weeks and look to sharpen up towards the night.
Man, I can't wait, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it, man. Please, Eddie Hearn, Haymon, let's get this happen, man. For Smith versus Pedraza, man. I'm hyped. I'm excited. No, I've been really looking forward for this fight. I'm not even gonna blow smoke out your ear, man. I've been really looking forward to this fight. So
yeah, me too.
I can't wait, man. I definitely can't wait, man. I wanted to see if my other co-hosts wanted to ask you a question. Flawless or Jesse, you wanted to say something to Smith?
You pretty much, you covered everything, Barzini. You're getting good at this. I don't need to come on the show anymore. You pretty much covered everything I was going to ask. So, it's you covered that.
Yeah, this is my co-host from UK, too, so I was telling you about Smith.
Yeah, I'm just down the road from you, because I'm just from Manchester. Live in Manchester as well.
Oh, that's right.
Down the road from you, so yeah.
How's it going, Stephen?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Nah, man, I see that you in 2007 at the World Amateur Boxing in Chicago that you were defeated to this German dude, Marcel Hertog, and it said you were expected to perform well. Were you the favorite going into that tournament?
No, probably not the favorite to win the gold, because Lomachenko was in my weight division. Albert Selimov was the lad who he beat me in the European Championships earlier in the year. I lost in the semi-finals to Selimov. He won the gold. I got the bronze. And with Marcel Hertog, I'd say going into that, I was expected to go far, to medal, to try and avenge me loss to Selimov. But as I say, I drew Marcel Hertog in the first round. And it was just a complete lesson in life, really. I looked past him. I knew I had Selimov next. I was going to meet Selimov in the second round, so I was sort of like warming up for the fight, and I was watching Selimov's fight before me and stuff, and I just completely overlooked him. I'd fought Marcel Hertog before and stopped him, so it was one of them. I thought, well, I'm going to beat him again. I've already stopped him. Just let me watch Selimov, and I was watching him, and I just completely took my eye off it, and when the computer scored and he got ahead and I was chasing him and making mistakes, and he beat me on the night, not a bad decision. He won well, and it was just a lesson I learned, and I'd never do it again. I'd never look past an opponent, no matter what level it is.
Yeah, man. Wait, it's funny you brought up Lomachenko, man. Freaking, we talk about him all the time on the show. Like, what do you think about like this push he's get? I mean, he has 6 matches or 5? He has 1 loss on it. He lost to Salido, and he's getting like this massive push. Like I've never seen anything like it. It feels like, oh man, this is the best boxer out. What do you think? Like well deserved or a little early on Lomachenko's success?
No, I just think. Listen, he was an unbelievable talent. He was a special fighter. So he turned professional and tried to do what no one else has done and win a world title quicker than anyone else. And to do that in 2 fights would have took, an unbelievable fighter to do it. And, he was one that was probably good of. I was really surprised Salido beat him. I didn't expect it. I thought, even with his inexperience as a professional, he'd had a lot of, the World Series fights where, it's as good as pro boxing, where the boxing with no head guard on and stuff. And, I just thought he'd have enough in the tank to go and beat Salido. And, I was surprised he lost it, but he's shown since. He's still a quality fighter.
I think Salido. I talk about him all the time on the show, man. He's just like a rare great boxer. His record. Talk about like being better than your record.
Definitely. He's so tough, so strong. He's just. I think you could hit him with a brick wall. He just, not to budge him. I think he's, because he's been down in his career, but gets back up. He'll always come back and always keep trying. He's got a huge heart. But I just thought on the night Lomachenko would have, that skill, that like star quality where he'd stay out of his way and he'd show him angles and stuff. And I just thought he may be suited to Lomachenko, but it didn't seem the way on the night.
Yeah, man, and it's like I said, Lomachenko's like so funny, man. Like with with Robert Guerrero, with that got overturned though because I think steroids or something was found. But I was like kind of I think my first introduction to Salido was when he beat Juanma Lopez, and just how he wiped the floor with him. I was like, and then you start looking at this guy like what a great champion he actually is,
Especially at the time, because Juanma was dominating people. He was wiping the floor with everyone, and then next minute Salido popped up and destroyed him, didn't he? And done it twice.
Yeah, Juanma was supposed to be that next whenever Puerto Rico always puts a boxer always takes Puerto Rico on their back, whether it be Miguel Cotto.
Yeah, definitely.
And Juanma was supposed to, and now Felix Verdejo is kind of like leaning towards that, and what's your takes on Felix Verdejo?
I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's very talented. He looks like he carries a punch, and he looks like he's been learning. His development's gone well, and I can see him definitely becoming a world champion.
Yeah, I hope so, man. So you guys never do. So I guess your whole family. But you guys might even face each other then, right? 'Cause aren't you in the same weight class?
I'm not sure. I think he seems to be flitting between 130 and 135. I don't know where he's going to settle at. If he settles at 130, then definitely, yeah. Whoever's at 130 is going to be, a threat to myself. But I'm not too sure what he's going to do. He didn't seem like he's made his mind up. I've seen a couple of interviews him saying he's doing 135, but then I've seen others where he seems to edge towards 130. So I'm not too sure.
Right. So I guess boxing was in your family, huh? None of you guys decided wanted to go another way. all four.
Yeah, no. Right? Well, to be honest with you, it was Lee who wanted to go another way. He liked football or soccer over there, which is what he sort of wanted to do.
Oh yeah.
And he still plays. He still plays now. He still plays every Sunday morning. The night he won the world title, he was still playing Sunday League the next morning. It's just what he's always loved, but he just seems to be better at boxing.
Yeah. That's funny, man. So you got a little bit you got a little taste of the business side of things too, right? There was like court issues and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just promote things outside the boxing. We've had a little, taste of it with myself and my brother, but it's just one of them things. You just, you brush it off, you move on, and you stick to what you know best.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it, and Mikey Garcia, who's another fantastic boxer champion. It's a shame we haven't seen him fight in 2 years because of this emotional stuff. It's kind of like
definitely, yeah. He was a great fighter. I loved watching. World champion, moved up world champion again, and I think he was the kingpin at 130. Really, he was the best. And I think since he moved on is really where Uchiyama sort of took over. Now I think he's the number one in the division, but it's only since Mikey Garcia moved up because I think he was the best in the division while he was around.
Yeah, we it's funny we weren't getting we were talking about this yesterday too. Also, we might not see Sergey Kovalev versus Stevenson because of HBO and then Stevenson's Showtime and now Haymon and PBC, and it's like for the fans and I guess for the fighters alike, right? It's kind of annoying that you can't fight this person because he's promoted by this person, right? It's like I guess
definitely
I guess you really haven't dealt with that as of yet, though, right?
No, it happens in Britain where you have sort of Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, so a lot of the fights don't happen until they're ordered, and it is frustrating even on a domestic level. But I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for the fighters at the top level, as you just mentioned, Kovalev and Stevenson. I can only imagine two of them both do want to fight each other. They haven't got a world champion for avoiding people. They will want to prove that they are the best themselves, but as you say, with politics, it just doesn't look like the fight will happen.
Right. Well, man, Steven, man, I wish you the best, man. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks for taking your time to call in and everything, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
no problem. Thanks very much.
In the future, man.
Thanks, mate. Thanks a lot. You take care of yourself.